Hello, everyone. I'm Justin,
And I'm Sam.
and welcome back to the SJW show. So,
So the presidential debate just went off. I would say probably 5 minutes ago. Probably even
yeah,
5 minutes ago.
yeah,
Probably like 3 minutes ago. But anyways,
yeah.
we decided to immediately start recording because we have a lot of ideas we'd like to get out there. Justin, would you like to start off?
Oh, I don't, yes, but I don't know where to start. Where do I start? Do we want to start? Do
Where
we
to
want to go
start?
by issues or candidates or?
Uh, why don't I give a sum up on how we thought people performed tonight? We'll start with the bottom, Kasich.
He's bottom in the polls, but I thought his performance tonight was actually the strongest. He definitely made the most sense. He was definitely the most neutral out of everybody. He seemed like he knew what he's doing. He definitely has the most experience, in my opinion, out of everybody. As I've said from the beginning, all the way back when, that he's my favorite Republican candidate. And we were checking polls earlier, weren't we, Sam?
We were.
And he's actually destroying Hillary, basically.
Right, he is, because he's sane.
And against Bernie, which Bernie's destroying every Republican candidate except Kasich in the
Right.
polls.
But these are all polls, and usually polls aren't accurate. I remember there's a poll with South Carolina where Clinton was beating Sanders by like 30 points, but that had turned out not to be the case.
Yeah. Polls can be inaccurate, but still, I think gauging wise, it definitely shows more of what the people are about, in my opinion.
Maybe, possibly, but one never knows what the general election happens.
All right, so who do you want to go with next? Do you want to go with
Let's go with let's go up. Well, I guess Carson should have been number 5, but
is Kasich higher than Carson?
I'm not quite sure actually. I know Kasich is rising slowly.
Carson, he was Carson.
He looked heavily medicated, didn't know where he was.
Yeah, he always looks like he doesn't know where he is for real. He had, there was not. He's just been saying the same thing he's been saying over and over. He talked about how everybody calls him whiny, and yes, he is whiny. I mean,
Right.
that's just his deal. And one thing that gets on me is he's whiny, and like, yeah, we get it. He's whiny because he doesn't get time, but he's not whiny in like a substantial way to where like he's standing up for himself. It's just more like, hey, I'm gonna be passive aggressive. Please give me more time, and that's what I don't like about it.
Right. And even one part in the debate is like, I know I whine a lot, but I want more time. And then he proceeded to whine about it.
Yeah. That's actually exactly what he did. Who's next?
Well, actually, I want to make one more comment on Ben Carson.
Please do.
You had a really weird last statement. What you say when he's like, "Look at these hands," and then you just kind of showed the audience his hands. That was kind of weird, don't you think? It's like these hands have saved children. Vote for me.
Okay, I will say this. I always do the these hands joke so much back
Right.
when Street Fighter 4 was a thing because I played Geef. And so I'd be like, look at these hands.
But that's a
These
joke.
green hands. And literally, like, when he did that, all I could think of was me making that joke. And it was just like, look at his hands. Those green hands.
Green hands.
Um,
Okay, so going up, I guess the next one's, I guess either
Rubio?
Rubio or
I think it's
Cruz.
Rubio. I think Rubio is a little bit lower than Cruz.
Yeah, well, Rubio dropped in the polls.
Um, he was Rubio.
His Rubio. His broken record.
A lot of these people have just stuck to their normal thing. Um, Trump got a lot of good shots in at Rubio. Rubio got in a lot less good shots at Trump. Trump basically opened him up tonight.
Yeah. And, let's see, Cruz? Cruz?
Still born in Canada.
Yeah, still born in Canada.
Still totally born in Canada.
Right.
I'm gonna keep saying that. Still totally born in Canada. His father may have been Cuban, but he is Canadian.
Uh, well, I
He is
guess
Canadian.
Canadian.
He was born in Canada. That makes him
Well,
Canadian.
I guess.
Um,
Let me ask you a question. If
sure.
someone is born in a different country, would they immediately migrate to the U.S.? Are they that country nationality anymore?
You see, while they are American, I keep referencing him as Canadian, right? Because he's actually running for president.
I'm not quite sure of his citizenship status, though. Is he a Canadian?
He was born in Canada.
Yes, but he was born to an American mother who I think was there on a visa.
Mm.
It's complicated. I'm not quite sure in the specifics of it.
Trump.
But I tell you what, we'll do some research. and we'll come back and we'll make a definitive answer.
All right, yeah. That sounds good. One thing I'd definitely like to say between the two of them that really pissed me off is that they were both constantly talking about the Constitution and upholding it, and they would constantly refer to how the appointment for Justice Scalia's absence would come after the Obama administration, which is basically
Right.
directly just spitting in the Constitution's face.
Yeah, it's kind of odd because previously they mentioned like, oh, we have precedent that people don't nominate judges in their last year, but I think Ronald Reagan nominated a judge in his last year in office.
Who was it? I'm trying to remember who it was. There was a president, and the same thing happened to where it was like it was his last day, and they didn't want to let him nominate, but he nominated anyways.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was Quincy Adams, maybe.
Quincy Adams?
Might have been Quincy
Midnight Judge? Oh, yeah, the Midnight Judge.
Adams. Midnight Judge, yeah.
That wasn't Quincy, that was just John Adams.
John, okay, wrong Adams, but I got Adams right.
The slightly cooler one who didn't have a one-term presidency.
And then on to the man who's huge.
Mr. Trump.
Um,
He gave a pretty normal performance for him, at least.
he made sense. Again, a lot of his economic stuff and some of his healthcare stuff made sense.
And then he talked about the wall. He said he's gonna bring it 10 feet, higher.
Mexico's still gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
Another position I liked about his, which was really weird, because he made sense again, was the Israel-Palestinian stance.
What's your opinion on Israel-Palestinian? Do you have an opinion on it?
I would honestly prefer a neutral ceasefire and staying neutral because I feel like if there isn't a ceasefire and we don't end this in neutrality, it's just going to be a thing that keeps popping up every few years. And I feel like the only way to truly end it is not to just support one side and go in and just be like balls to the wall, screw the other country, because then they'll just rise up again, because that's what happens. But to end it in as more of an arbiter or a mediator between the two countries and actually somehow figure out a ceasefire.
Well, I don't know. I really disagree with the what's the word? I really disagree with the creation of Israel, really. I don't think it should have been a state. I think maybe we should have found another place for the Jewish people to settle down.
All that is...
I'm just a huge non-supporter of birthright. I think birthright is the dumbest thing ever.
Oh, explain.
Well, it just seems like it's a very anti-American concept, birthright. Like, oh, you're born, therefore you have certain privileges. And I know that's not always the case in America. Sometimes birthright does take precedent. But I believe we should make strides to end this sort of like archaic way of thinking.
Yeah. Upon other stuff that Trump said, he did talk about the wall.
The wall, yeah.
He actually made sense when he was talking about the drug problem from the South.
Right.
In geography class, and I just actually did a paper, as you know, on the drug war, and something like, I want to say it's like either 80s or 90s, somewhere in those percentages is the amount of cocaine in the United States comes from Colombia, Venezuela, the countries there, in Mexico. And that's a huge number. That's definitely a problem. And they were talking about the Canadian ISIS and everything like that, and ISIS using the Canadian border. And I think Trump was right in saying the Mexican border is definitely the bigger problem, is because ISIS we can stop. Like, ISIS is going to be an eventual, like, ISIS will eventually calm down, like.
But it'll probably take a few thousand American lives for it to.
Well,
I'd be surprised if another attack like 9/11 is about to happen.
Yeah, but the deal is, how many lives has the Mexican drug trade and Colombian drug trade and just overall the South American drug trade?
True, but how's a wall going to stop that? They'll just dig under the wall and they'll destroy the wall. We can't man every part of the wall 24/7, even under surveillance.
It'll definitely help, and I believe it will deter a lot more.
I don't know that. Do you support Trump's wall?
Man, I actually don't. I don't support Trump's wall. No.
Do you support any wall on the Mexican border?
You know, it's a really hard question for me, because on one hand, I don't support a wall because of how we're supposed to be accepting of immigrants, and because I believe a wall makes spits in the face of NAFTA.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
The North American Trade Agreement.
Yeah, North American Free Trade Agreement.
Well, again, America made that agreement. We can choose to violate it if we choose.
We still signed it with Canada and Mexico, and we're
I
not
mean,
doing.
you got to admit we're the dominant power in North America. We can do pretty much whatever we want to without.
But yeah, but what I'm
recourse.
saying is, it irritates me that we do this to Mexico and not Canada, who we also signed the act with. But then again, with how bad the drug trade is, I definitely feel like we need a better way to stop it.
Right. But let's see.
Back.
What else did Trump talk about? That was talk about the iPhone scandal. You want to call it scandal or dilemma? Whatever.
Would you like to just go on to separate issues now, and
Separate issues.
or would you like to rate the candidates real quick and then go on to the issues?
Who did the best?
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna rank Kasich as number one.
I will also rate Kasich as 1. I'm going to go Kasich 1, Trump 2, Cruz 3, Rubio 4, Carson 5.
That sounds about right. Like Rubio just wasn't doing it tonight. He tried to attack, and then Donald Trump just sort of like saying it back down.
Yeah. So yeah, that's mine. Is that the same as yours?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
You're not gonna switch Rubio and Cruz or Rubio and Carson?
No, Cruz was okay, but Rubio was just awful.
All right, back on to the issues. They were talking about how it was just the turn off the self-destruct on one iPhone.
Right.
And they were like, yeah, that's not compromised security at all, but if you have the way to unlock one iPhone or know how to unlock one iPhone and turn off the what they call the auto destruct, which is really just an auto erase, then you have the ability to do it for every iPhone.
Yeah, Tim Cook was saying that he was afraid of the precedent that is what's set for everyone, because once they could do this to one phone, they could pretty much use that decision to have it done to any phone.
And Rubio was talking about how he didn't support it back when he thought it was a backdoor to all phones, but now that's just one phone, and that it's just take off the self-destruct so the FBI can use their own systems to hack it, and just what sounded like just randomly get just to try all combinations of it. If they were able to unlock it and get that, or just the fact that Apple would give them the way to disable auto erase, that's just like installing a backdoor, because then it gives the FBI the ability to do the exact same thing for every phone in America.
You're right.
Well, every iPhone.
I don't trust the federal government with that kind of power. We've seen what happens when they have, power to wiretap things. They have a large domestic spying program.
Oh yeah, and the German Prime Minister, she loved it when
Yeah, Merkel.
Prime Minister or President? Prime Minister, right?
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister, yeah. Sorry.
Merkel.
Yeah, she loved it when she found out that they were tapping her.
Right. I mean, it's one thing. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe if Germany was posing some kind of threat, but I highly doubt they were, maybe it's okay to wiretap them. But to wiretap your own citizens and violate your own constitution is
What do you mean?
bad.
That's what the Republicans love doing. Yeah. And then saying they're upholding it.
I feel the need to bring into question one of Rubio's statements when he said that the Constitution should not be a living document. I think it's rather ignorant to think that a bunch of old white slave-owning aristocrats basically knew how to set up a country. Now, they did a pretty good job, I will say that. But to just broadly interpret, not broadly, to specifically interpret what it meant back then is kind of.
You know what? Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think it was definitely fine for the time.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things that they've done that I don't necessarily agree with, like the Electoral College. If we want to get into that, maybe.
There's a lot of stuff that we've had to add on.
Right.
Because societies evolve, everything evolves, but apparently we're not allowed to let our Constitution evolve.
Right. I personally agree with Jefferson's idea, where he said we should rewrite it every 10 years to suit the times.
You think 10?
10, yeah, 10 seems like a reasonable number.
I don't know, 15.
15? Why 15?
I just because I feel 10 is too short,
And 5 years is gonna change
and I
something.
feel 20 is too much.
Then why do we define things by the decades?
Yeah, you're right. Mm, yeah, no, I don't think it needs to be fully rewritten. To be completely honest with you,
I do. I
I
think we need
don't
to have a
think
rewrite.
fully. Okay. Let me put it like this: I don't trust our government to fully
Right.
rewrite the Constitution. So I don't think it needs to be fully rewritten. But I think we just need to add certain things like one thing that was added that happened on YouTube and been terrorizing YouTube with copyright strikes is mm, the millennial
The
di-
DMCA, is that what you're talking about?
DMCA, yeah. Digital Millennial.
Copyright Act,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that was something that although it's like allowed people to go rampant on YouTube and just allow the content, not allow and basically put the content creators under a reign of tyrannical fear. Um, Overall, it was we needed that as a country.
But YouTube's a private institution, though. They don't have to necessarily follow fair use.
Well, I mean, not
Now,
not
if
it.
they went to court over it, then the creator and the copyright owner, they could invoke fair use. But I just feel like YouTube wants to cover its bases because there are some people who are uploading verbatim a movie or a TV show.
Yeah. No. I wasn't trying to make a point or bring up the fair use argument that's all over YouTube currently. What I was trying to show was that we've come up with things to adapt to the times because that was definitely something we needed, and I was saying well, we need more stuff like that, like more
Well,
acts,
that's
more
why we have amendments, but amendments are really hard.
to get past.
And I actually think it's good that they're hard to get past. I think it's good that government's slow because it gives us time to think and reflect on what they're doing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, a big one's healthcare.
Healthcare?
Healthcare, that's big.
Well, they all oppose the Affordable Health Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, which I don't necessarily blame them for.
Um, to be honest, I'm on Obama. Excuse me, I'm on Obamacare, which, it kind of have to be. But I came off Medicaid to Obamacare, and it's oh Lord, has it made a world? It's made so many. Like I'm not afraid to go to I'm still too stubborn to go to the doctor for most things. But when I had Medicaid, I was afraid to go to the doctor. But now I'm like okay with it. So, you know, I feel like at least for me, and I feel like Obamacare is a person-to-person basis. But for me, it's been working beautifully and wonderfully, and I'm very happy I have it. But I can definitely see how it could cause problems for people, and I'm definitely not opposed to a new type of insurance.
Right. Let's look at some of their plans. One of their plans was to open up state borders, which I
I'm
kind
gonna
of,
open up state borders.
I kind of, well, it was actually Cruz's plan more. But anyways, I don't necessarily, I don't know. My fear is that this is going to create a nationwide sort of monopoly on
We're gonna have all
healthcare.
types of plans though. It's gonna create competition, so we're gonna have all types of plans.
Competition doesn't always work out though.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the more that libertarian argument, like, oh, we'll just increase competition, somehow the economy will improve.
To be completely honest, when you look at it state by state, if you even expanded the borders, there wouldn't really be much competition because Blue Cross Blue Shield controls so many different states. United controls so many different states. Like when you look state to state, usually one healthcare provider has basically a monopoly over the state. And if we opened up the borders, then all those states that they had control of would just connect and make them bigger.
Well, they'll probably just do what they did with AT&T and just break them up.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah,
They create the Bell companies, which I think are now all rejoined. So I don't think it did much of a
no.
much of a thing.
Bell South was what they cracked into AT&T and something else.
Yeah, but they're basically the same company now because they shared certain deals and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how well that'd work. One thing I've always been for is competition between pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because definitely in countries where competition between pharmaceutical companies is allowed, you get things a lot cheaper. And I don't know which European nation it is. It might be England. It might even be Canada. But I'm pretty sure it's a European nation. And their entire deal is how they encourage competition between pharmaceutical companies is because they have government-sponsored healthcare. Whoever can get them the best working pill for the cheapest gets the contract from the government. And so it encourages all the companies to try and figure out the cheapest and best way to get everything, so then they get this big hearted contract. And I feel like that'd work very well in America.
I don't necessarily agree with doing what Europe's doing. The fact is,
Maybe
it's
not.
on a way smaller scale than the U.S. I don't know if it could be carried over to the U.S. in an effective way.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, but again, I was just talking about specifically the pharmaceutical portion. I really like that idea because we pay too much. Pharma bro, when one man controls a.
Right, he jacks up the price, and
Yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
people die as a result.
And that's one thing that Trump made sense on, and that none of the other Republican candidates really brought up, is that we have one of the worst healthcare systems in the world, arguably, very arguably,
We're ranked pretty low.
and yet we pay the most per person for healthcare. Yet we pay the most per person, well, most everything, to be completely honest, and yet we're still ranked so low.
Right, we're not sending it. We're much like Jeb Bush. We're spending a lot of money and having no results.
Yeah, and I think a thing that really shows this is CNN actually just did an article, and I know we're supposed to be talking about the debate, but I'd like to bring this up. CNN just did an article, well, the CNN business side, CNN Money, I believe is what it's called, about, I don't want to say a mass exodus, but I will say a noticeable exodus of American college students to European colleges, because a lot of European countries offer free tuition to all these places to international students, and so they can, for the ticket of a plane ride and and enough money to buy a house or someplace to stay there, they're going to college for free and saving so much money.
Okay.
And
Do you want to talk about free college now? Because we can.
no, I think
I don't really agree with free college, but
well, no, I think it just shows. I think it just shows how busted our current college system is, and that needs to be. The problem with our current college system, is that our colleges, like, we have to pay for them, and that to compete with the free college and free international colleges, we have to. It's like, okay, we're paying for college. What do we get? What's that extra thing we get for being for paying? And it's not like they can't figure out anything they're getting over the other colleges, because, like, there's a college in Germany that's free, and it's for air and space and aerodynamics. And if you graduate from there, like, it's world renowned. It's like the aerodynamics place, right?
right.
And it's free. So if you want to go into aerodynamics, why would you go to college here when you can go to college there? Like, what I'm saying is we need to add incentives for students to go to our colleges.
Don't scholarships and grants kind of accomplish that?
I mean, they can, but it's like, okay, well, if they don't pay for everything, why would I still go to college when I could just dump literally less than a semester's worth of money?
Because the room and board in Germany is ridiculous. These colleges are free, but the apartments around them gouge prices whenever students move in.
Well, yeah, but a lot of the places.
I mean, it might actually be cheaper because they gouge prices so much. Because you're paying all year long, whereas college you're only paying for a semester.
Yeah, that is true, but I've always, and this is just me being me, I've always, like, it's easy, just get a house kind of near it. Don't have to pay room. Like, you don't have to stay on campus for a lot of those.
No, this isn't on campus. This is off campus, off these European campuses. All the apartments around them. They have no dorms on these college campuses.
Yeah.
So it is a lot cheaper to go to school in the U.S. Really, when you think about it. And plus, the euro and all the price conversion, you will pay more when you live in Europe than you do in the U.S. It's just a fact. I mean, I'm pointing out a fact.
I disagree with that fact, but
Well, it's true, though. You can't disagree with numbers, though. They're true.
well,
I mean, CNN is not the most reputable news organization out there. They cover really dumb stories, honestly.
I'll do some research into it. Because I don't want to call you out for things, and I don't want to make myself look like a fool because I haven't done all the research.
I mean, I've done
currently.
the research. This is where I'm getting. I've looked into going to college in Europe, and it is not cheap.
Well, no college is cheap, but
It is if it's free.
well, the college itself is cheap.
I mean, look, okay. If we want to get in college, we can get into it right now if you want to. Because I feel like we do have a disagreement when it comes to free college in the United States.
While we do, I don't think this is the podcast to do it.
Why not?
Well, because we're supposed to be talking about Republican
I
things.
mean, okay, what happened in the debate? Let's be honest here. What happened in the debate? We could talk about all the things they talked about, right?
Yeah.
But I think we've talked about them before in great detail.
Is there anything that we're missing? Because I think we actually already did hit a lot of the
Let's see. Their foreign policy. They all have the basic same foreign policy at this point.
Well, I think the Israel-Palestine was basically the biggest foreign policy. That in North Korea, and I actually like. You might think I'm crazy.
Okay.
But actually, I've actually been toying, so to speak, the idea of regime change or regime control in North Korea because I honestly feel like that might be the only way.
I feel it's gonna come naturally with or without our help.
Okay, that's.
I mean, let me give you an example. I had the privilege of going to a conference last February, and there was a North Korean defector there, and she spoke about her life, and what she basically said was, all these towns in North Korea don't follow any of the North Korean policies. They all sell their contraband in the open, and there's no real government control over them, and they have these freedoms, and eventually they are going to be influenced enough by South Korea or China even to where they will have a revolution.
Okay.
At some point. I don't know if it's going to be 10 years from now or 5 years. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Then maybe regime control isn't a thing if it's that close.
But we should never, ever march over the 30th parallel.
No.
That would be a death sentence for
No,
everyone.
Never. I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree. No boots on the ground over that parallel. No planes for real either. Just
maybe some drones. Unmanned aircraft.
Maybe some.
If they're striking military targets, of course, we shouldn't strike, cities.
Yeah. Maybe some drones.
I think our aim's not very well.
Yeah, just
tell
us where you aren't and we'll hit you right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Hit another hospital.
Yeah. North Korea has always been a thorn in our side for a very long time now. I honestly just am about them. I feel like, and again, this is gonna be crazy, but I feel like things would open up a lot for the United States if North Korea was not the way it currently is. I'll put it like that.
Open up? Like, what does North Korea have that we could use?
Well, here's the deal. We have very good relations with South Korea.
Right? I mean, South Korea kind of owes existence to us in a way.
And what I feel like is that if a revolution happens, the most likely thing is that Korea is just gonna. Okay, it's a 50-50 shot, in my opinion.
Okay.
Whether if North Korea does have a revolt, they're either gonna become democracy like the United States, and I think join back up with South Korea.
It's sort of like a West and East Germany situation.
Or a West and East. No, well, not even that. I think if they don't choose to, China has huge influence there, and I feel like it's 50-50 between whether they're going to go with China and install another, not democratic government, but I don't want to call China a communist government because they're not fully communist.
I mean, if they're having a revolution, I think they'd be fed up with the idea of communism at that point.
Honestly, if they go the republic or democracy route, I can definitely see a good chance of them connecting back with South Korea and becoming maybe just Korea. And because of how good the relations we have with South Korea are we then all of a sudden get North Korea, and I think, and this is a little bit of definitely a little bit. It's gonna sound a little bit warmongering, but we get closer bases to China in case things happened.
I mean, we have that with Japan at this point.
Yeah, we do, but it's just excuse the pun here. It's just always good to cover your bases.
I guess. My prediction is North Korea will become its own country, and there will be a mass exodus of North Korean people to South Korea. Because I think these people are brainwashed and they're far gone, and they can't even think of a reuniting with South Korea without North Korea being a dominant force in the reunion.
Maybe in due time.
I don't know. Like, I feel it would have been possible if it was closer to the actual splitting of the countries, because there were relatives who knew each other.
Yeah.
But at this point, most of them are dead, and their children really don't know the other side. So maybe they won't feel obligated to join South Korea.
Okay, yeah. I can definitely see that. Do you?
But we are just two college students. We don't know anything really. We know some about global policy. We don't know enough to like make definite statements of what's going to happen.
Definitely not. I've been definitely in geography because of Current Vincent, because of geography. Surprisingly, has made me go into all this, and like I looked into how Germany got back together. I looked into EU and everything like that, and I'm trying to apply that now, and for this, and you know, again, I'll say 50-50, independent or reuniting with with South Korea. I'll give it 50-50.
50-50?
50-50.
50-50. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
Any other points before we get on the free college? Because I think you really wanna.
Well, I don't know exactly what your opinion on free college is. I want to get it right here, right now, on the podcast. Right here, right now. Bang.
My opinion on free college.
Okay.
Here
we go.
Do I have time to think about this? Because I'm actually very split.
Okay.
I'm actually very split on the free college thing. Because, again, I feel like because our college isn't free, that we're, and like CNN said, that we're losing a lot of students and potential inventors, etc., 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 because, you know.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Let's say you were a poor inner city kid.
Cool.
But you're really smart. You have really good grades.
Cool.
High SAT score.
Cool.
You can't go to college in Europe because you just don't have the money to support yourself with your housing or your food. But if you have a full ride scholarship to a college, you can stay on campus free of room and board and tuition.
You know what? The more I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about it, and I like the scholarship system.
Right.
I really do, because it gives so many people opportunities.
This is coming from a man who does have a scholarship.
I have.
It's a scholarship, even though it doesn't cover everything. It is still a scholarship.
I have a scholarship. I have a scholarship, and I have a federal grant.
Right.
That means I don't have to pay it back. The way I feel about college is, in today's time, and I think this view comes from a person that grows up when we were, or grew up in our generation and is feeling the same things and will definitely be felt by the generations after us, is that it feels like you have to have a college degree to do anything that would give you enough of a wage to live.
Right.
And I feel like college, especially for those who can't afford it and aren't like the smartest, like they're not stupid, they're adept, they're just not smart, or even those who just aren't good at test taking, because if you have test anxiety, you're not good at test taking skills. I know people who are way smarter than I am, like completely honest, and did worse on the ACT, and I know they're way smart. It's just they have really crappy test taking skills. Like they're just, their nerves get to them. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, college is all about taking tests, though. So how would they fare in a high stress environment like college?
I think there's definitely a difference between the stress of college and college tests and the stress of the ACT.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but go on.
Well, the ACT is like, here's what determines whether I get money to go to college and whether I can go to college. And then once you're in college, it's like, instead of this is the test that can keep me in college.
Right, but the pressures of the real world are a lot worse than that. Well, what if you got in a job and you're like, okay, your boss says, okay, do this or you're fired? Isn't that a lot more pressure than just taking a test?
No, I actually disagree. Um,
Okay, so lose your livelihood or lose the chance to go to college.
See, the difference is if they have the job, there are so many. I'm not gonna say there's so many jobs out there, but there's so many different types of jobs that I feel like it's easier to find once you have a college degree. It's easier to find a job that fits you and that can provide for you.
Yeah, but that doesn't always mean your boss is going to be nice or that the
Oh
work environment
no.
you have is going to be a
Oh
safe work environment.
oh no 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 it doesn't. But the point I'm trying to make here is because of the way our college system works, and especially student loans, it's like, okay, I get to choose between between going in debt for 4 years or picking up debt for 4 years. Of course, this is if you don't have a scholarship, because if I didn't have the scholarship, I'd be in debt. Let's not even talk about how in debt I'd be. Um, and basically, you have to choose between, okay, do I want to work for a job that might put food on the table, or I have to choose between having food on the table or having a place to live, or do I want to go in debt to try and get a degree and hopefully get a job that can pay my debt off and give me food and housing, because that student debt is a complete killer of people.
I would just remedy that by raising the minimum wage, making a living wage.
Well, see, not a lot of people like that. We'll do that. And
Are more people in favor of free college or raising the minimum wage?
see, the problem is Republicans really aren't in favor of either.
Right, which is why I don't support Republicans.
But I the thing that I worry about is that raising the minimum wage won't matter in the long run, because it'll be like, oh, the minimum wage is higher, so of course the student loans will adjust for what minimum wage is, and if you go to college and then can't find a great job, you're gonna be stuck right where the same place that you are now.
Well, here's the issue. Having free college will affect everyone for all time, because it will turn our degrees worthless, basically.
Like I said, there are a lot of a lot of colleges overseas that are world recognized, and they're free, and like that hasn't affected them.
How do you know it hasn't affected them? Have you done research?
Well, no, what I'm saying is, it hasn't affected their standing. Does that make sense? Like, they're free and they're still world renowned as like the best. You know what I mean?
Well, the U.S. has a lot more colleges.
We do.
And not everyone can go to the most prestigious university.
Our most prestigious universities aren't even that prestigious. Let's be
They're
honest
not
here.
even, well, George Bush graduated from Yale, so or Harvard. I don't know.
Again, I'm going to say what I've said about all Ivy League schools for basically my entire life. Ivy League school isn't prestigious because it's hard to get into. Ivy League school is prestigious because of the people that go to it. There's a complete difference. It's not prestigious in an academic way like people want to make it. No, they only let in 2%, and this is Harvard that I'll use an example of this. They only let in 2% of people because everybody else that goes to the college are legacy people, or people who just had enough money to just flat out give them the money to go.
And we're not discounting that there are not smart people at these colleges. They're like geniuses.
Oh, yeah, no.
Some of the greatest poets in America have gone to Harvard or have been professors at Harvard.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is people think of it as like this prestigious college because of academics, when it's not. The only reason it's prestigious is because you might be the only person, if you get in, from a middle-class family, and your whole entire other class might just be the sons and daughters and cousins or whatever of multi-million or billionaires, and that's where the prestige comes from.
I would say it's prestigious because you could be sitting next to the next president of the United States, potentially.
Potentially. Has every president graduated from an Ivy League school? Well, since
Obama? Yale.
Obama was Yale?
I think so.
That'd be an interesting thing to look up on, to see how the ratio to Ivy League to presidents.
Oh, no, Bush went to Harvard. Kerry went to Yale. John Kerry.
Yeah, no.
A lot of them
But
have.
back on the free college thing, I think I think my stand on this is less pro free college and more pro reforming the student loan industry. Because you can't tell me it's not an industry, because that's an
I
industry.
don't disagree with the with that. I mean, they do have like ridiculous interest rates when it comes to private loans from like third parties and stuff.
And you know, even if you go bankrupt, they still follow you.
Right. Well, that was because a lot of students were just declaring
Some-
bankruptcy out of college, and
Well, yeah,
they really
but
had no need to.
one thing that really is retarded, in my opinion, and excuse me for using that word, but I feel it's strong.
Hey, we're the SJW show.
But I feel it's the only word strong enough to really comprehend the emotion I have behind this. And it's that some student loans even follow you through death, and that's just like, why?
Right, your next of kin
Yeah,
will have to pay your student debt.
yeah, like it wasn't much, but I had to pay off the rest of my father's student loans.
Really?
Yeah.
How far was your father out of college?
Far,
Like more than a decade, probably.
probably closer. Yeah, no, he was. I think he was 2 decades out of college.
Yeah. See. Yeah. I don't agree with the modern college industry. I do agree it needs to be reformed, but I don't know if free college is necessarily the answer.
You know, I think, and I'm gonna say this again. I'm pro reform, and I think if the student loan portion and student loan industry isn't reformed, then we need free college. But I would much rather have a student loan industry reform than free college. And I think student loan industry reform plus a living wage for the minimum wage would basically remedy everything. Again, that's my opinion, but I would much rather that be the answer than free college. But I'm not opposed to free college as the answer.
My main concerns is just turning college into a high school 2.0 basically, where it's a really dumbed down version of academics basically. And I'm also concerned that if we do have free public college, that it will lead to the rise of the private college industry, which means you have to pay to get anywhere in life. Because the private colleges here, even here in Alabama, charge a ridiculous amount of money for tuition.
Oh yeah, it's completely absurd.
You could probably go here for 4 years and spend less than 2 years at a private college.
You could probably go to Germany and go to that place and spend less than the private college.
I won't disagree with that.
But yeah, I've always been conflicted on this thing because it's like there's so many different ways.
Like most things, it's very complicated. It's not just a little black and white issue.
Oh no, it's definitely not black and white, and there's so many different ways, in my opinion, to fix it. Of course, free college is one option, but it seems to be the only option that anybody ever brings up.
Right, and this is one of the things I have problems supporting Bernie Sanders with, but looking at the rest of them, I don't see how it goes support anybody else. Maybe Kasich, but I don't know. Kasich I think Kasich's going to drop out soon, honestly.
I think, especially if he doesn't win Ohio, he's dropping out.
I'm saying Super Tuesday, he's going to drop out.
During or after?
I would say halfway through the polls being announced.
Halfway through?
Halfway through, half the states have announced their polls, and he's like, okay, well, I'm not. He's going to be like Jeb Bush. I think Jeb Bush really thought he was going to win, or at least do well in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And when it didn't come to fruition, he's like, okay, well, maybe it's time for me to bow out.
Maybe Ted Cruz will send flyers to everybody on Super Tuesday saying that Kasich's dropping out.
Right. Maybe we should talk about that.
You know
the
what?
fact that Donald Trump accused Ted Cruz of fraud on stage.
He didn't accuse him of fraud.
Oh, here we go.
He accused him of
Justin's a former law student, so here he goes.
he accused him of sending fraudulent papers and fraudulent flyers. See, since he didn't directly say, I'm accusing you of being a fraud, you can't say that.
Well, isn't fraud a crime?
You are correct.
So have the papers been proven as fraudulent?
Well,
Has there been a court case where they've been proven fraudulent?
see, this is one of those times to where
We should exercise, what's the word? Disclaimers?
not even that. It's just while it legally hasn't been discussed or hasn't been set. The paper said that Carson dropped out, and Carson, in fact, did not drop out. They are fraudulent papers.
They're false, but I mean, no, I don't agree with that. I don't think we should say anything until the courts say they are in fact fraudulent.
I think, you know,
Because
I
just hear me out here for a second.
oh yeah, definitely.
What if Ted Cruz's campaign got information that they thought was true, that Ben Carson was going to drop out? So they okay, we'll capitalize on this. And they realized, oh wait, he's not dropping out, and it was too late to recall them.
Was it a verified source?
Verified source. Well, as long as they weren't committing actual malice, you can't really sue them for fraud or take them to court.
Again, I feel like it needs to be an investigation.
Probably, most likely. Yeah, I would say with that.
Because I feel like, and it may not have done anything, but I feel like him doing that definitely changed the poll numbers.
Yeah. While you're investigating his legal status as a citizen, you should investigate his possible fraudulent status.
But I definitely think that that trick had a substantial impact on the poll numbers.
I don't know how many were sent out though.
Here's the deal. Word of mouth is also a thing.
Maybe, but I feel if you're truly a Ben Carson supporter, you would know if he dropped out or not.
You'd be surprised how many people are just like, yeah, I like that guy, and then don't keep up with him until the day of the election.
But the way caucuses work, they're not just like let's go vote. They're like, let's go and stand there for like hours.
Yeah.
I feel like they would know if he dropped out. By the way, caucuses are stupid. I know we said it before, but we're going to say it again. Caucuses are really dumb. Just be a primary.
They may or may not be the dumbest.
Just be a primary. What's so hard about counting votes as opposed to counting hands? You know? And flipping coins every now and then.
These hands?
Yeah.
I say as I motion like Ben Carson did.
Again, great visual joke.
Yeah. That's basically everybody knows my stance on college now.
Right, and they kind of know mine, I think, maybe.
Would you like to expound upon yours?
I'm not necessarily in favor of free college, but I am in favor of reforming the college system. There.
All right, you know what? I think I'll hop on that train with you as well. And I think I'll put like the little asterisk under me, and saying that I'm not opposed to free college as a form of college reform.
Right. Do you have anything else to add? I think we're about to wrap up here.
Anything else you want to talk about the debate?
The debate. Jeb Bush's presence was not missed. I'm sorry to say.
This has been mostly Republican based, and we took a long detour about college. But would you like to say anything about the Democratic side? Democrats.
Well,
Bernie's basically lost the nomination at this point. Because superdelegates are BS.
Yeah. Well, again, these parties aren't democratic. They have no obligation to be democratic.
Yeah.
They just like to give us the illusion of choice.
And remember, kids, and people listening. The United States is actually a republic.
Yes, it is in fact a republic. We do in fact send representatives to go vote for us. We don't vote on like, do you want to approve Obamacare? No,
we are a democratic republic. And you're probably like, what does that mean?
Like a hybrid.
What it means is that we elect people to make laws for us, but when it comes to our leaders, we elect them more or less ourselves. And by more or less, I mean less because electoral colleges.
And sometimes we do vote directly on issues, like if there's an amendment that needs to be approved, we do have a convention in states, and we do vote on them. But that's rarely I don't know when's the last time an amendment has come up to vote?
Don't ask me that one.
It's been a couple of decades at least.
Definitely not our lifetime, or at least when we could vote in our lifetime.
I think probably we were like born. they were having the debate, but I got nothing to say about Democrats. I'm really interested to see how they're going to perform. I think their next primary is on Saturday. Actually, another Saturday. Actually, let's talk about that. Why aren't most primaries and elections on Saturdays? It just makes the most sense. What do you say?
There's an easy way and a very controversial way to say this.
Okay.
And then there's a soft way to say this.
Okay.
So I'm going to be controversial.
All right.
Most people have Saturdays off.
That's the reason why they should go vote.
No, like you're gonna laugh at this.
Okay.
But wow. It's gonna make me sound like an asshole. Gerrymandering is a thing.
Okay.
And I think that with the election days definitely has a thing, because you see, if you have it on a weekday, and if you do evidence as to the people who support you, right? If you do the research and see, okay, when their average or what their average job day is or job length is, and then you do it for the opposition, you have the caucus on the day that's
Well,
your.
What's tradition of voting on a Tuesday? It's not like a planned out thing. That's just what we've always done. By the way, tradition's dumb. It's really dumb.
Not always, but most of the time.
No, it's dumb. Always. Naming time tradition has been helpful.
Again, I'll say not always stupid, but
Well, let me correct that. If tradition goes against common sense, it is in fact dumb.
you know what?
If it's benign, like if it's just like, oh, we cook pancakes every Christmas morning, then okay, that's okay. But if it's like we're holding a caucus in Iowa just because it's tradition, that's pretty dumb.
Yeah, okay. Caucuses are dumb.
They're really dumb. But we're reiterating the end for like the third time, but they're pretty dumb.
They're really dumb.
Like really dumb. Like I can't believe we still do them. Dumb.
Wow, we still do caucuses.
We do. We actually gather in a room and say, yeah. Or sometimes we raise our hands like kindergartners.
Now all I can think of is like little gangs of people, like greasers, that are just there for the sole reason of forcing people to go to like one side or raise their hands.
Yeah. I mean, what if there were like caucuses down here during the Jim Crow era?
Oh, good.
That would have been awful. Is there a caucus in the South? I don't know if there is. Maybe Florida. No, there's a primary in Florida.
I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, Super Tuesday's coming up, so if you live in live in any of those multiple states,
If you live in a state that has a team in the SEC,
yeah, you're probably voting.
but yeah, that's basically it for our wrap up of the
Republican debate.
Republican debate, and
other
then
issues.
and then basically just some of our thoughts on other issues. We're glad to be back. College has had us. I was about to say hammered down, but that would receive a negative connotation, like we've been drinking, but we haven't.
Yes.
I've had us bogged down there. That's very. With assignments, I've actually lost a textbook, which, is that putting me back currently? So yeah,
you can borrow mine. You can borrow mine. It's all good.
Cool.
Although I don't know if you can borrow all the time though.
See, that's the problem.
Yeah, I guess that is it. Yeah, you can borrow it, except for when I need it.
Yeah. I think that's the big problem with that. But so yeah, no, college. We started the show doing it weekly, and back when we started doing it weekly, college was easy. College was just starting out, and slowly over the year, I think college has picked up a lot faster and a lot harder than
Right.
either of us expected.
We're kind of in our major classes now, and they are not
Easy.
They're not just, okay, take 4 tests and then you're done. It's like, here's an assignment. Do this assignment. Research a lot.
Yeah, and definitely, and I'm definitely gonna put more blame on myself than my co-host over here, because again, I'm on a scholarship. It doesn't cover everything, but it covers the majority, and I have to keep my grades up to keep that scholarship, and literally that scholarship is the reason why I can go to college.
Right.
So I can't really afford to let that go to waste. So
But we're
This
gonna
is
try from this point on to get one up at least once a week.
Yeah, we're gonna try our best to get one up once a week, and if we can't, we might just do it bi-weekly, and we already have the logo though, so I kind of want to keep it weekly.
SJBW.
SJW, I don't know, but
Maybe our branding is actually hurting us. Cause like, oh, SJWs, we don't want to listen to these guys, but they really don't know like it's a joke.
we could definitely rebrand
Did we ever
ourselves.
say that? That it's a joke? It's a joke. We're not really SJWs.
No, we said that SJW stood for Sam and Justin Weekly.
But we're not the.
It doesn't.
We're not the internet SJWs.
Yeah, it doesn't stand for Social Justice Warriors. I thought that saying what it stood for would obviously, differentiate us in people's minds. But it might become bi-weekly. We don't know. We're really filling it out right now. One thing we definitely know is that
Somebody's dropped. I don't know
that was actually outside our door.
Really?
Yes.
People in the dorm making noises? Who would have guessed?
But we definitely really enjoy doing this. We want to keep doing it, and we're gonna keep trying to bring you our opinions.
Right.
And our after darks when we let y'all have a little bit of fun, and just keep watching. I guess since it's on YouTube, we can technically say watch. But
yeah.
just keep listening. Just subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do. We'll try and get back to you if you do any of those things. Follow us on Twitter.
Right.
What's our Twitter handle?
At SJW Show.
Yeah, we will always try and live debate throughout all the live tweet throughout all the debates. Did I just say live debate?
Yeah, I think you did.
Wow. We always live tweet. We'll always try to live tweet throughout all the debates, and we'll mark them with whoever they are.
Right.
If they're but generally, if they're more controlled and make sense, or I don't want to say make sense, if they're more controlled and more on point, they're probably Sam's. And if they're just making fun of somebody or just totally going for the kidney punch or the uppercut, they're probably mine.
Right. Well, I'm Sam.
I'm Justin. It's been a pleasure.
We'll
See ya.
you next week.